In the heart of West Africa, a quiet revolution is unfolding, one that is defying global expectations and igniting hope across the continent. Burkina Faso, long written off as a nation struggling under the weight of corruption, poverty, and neo-colonial dependency, is rewriting its story under the audacious leadership of one man, Captain Ibrahim Traoré. To the outside world, he is a military leader who came to power amid crisis. But to many Burkinaband, to a growing chorus of Africans across borders, he's something more. He's a symbol of sovereignty, a restorer of dignity, and the embodiment of a long-suppressed dream, an Africa that stands on its own feet. When Captain Traoré took power, Burkina Faso was a nation bleeding from neglect. Crumbling roads severed rural communities from essential services. Farmers walked 4 hours just to sell their crops, only to find their produce spoiled, all their efforts underpaid. Villages were isolated, not just by distance, but by decades of disregard. Hospitals, if they could be called, that were little more than buildings filled with suffering. Without adequate supplies, trained staff, or functioning equipment, people often died waiting for care that never came. For many, the idea of progress had become a distant memory, something reserved for wealthier nations. But Traoré didn't see hopelessness, he saw potential. The first sign of his leadership came in the form of dust being cleared, levelled, and paved by Burkinab hands. Instead of outsourcing infrastructure projects to international firms, Traoré did something unprecedented. He bought construction equipment outright and invested in training local engineers and builders. Every kilometre of road built by Burkinab workers became a statement of sovereignty. Smooth highways now connect remote villages to bustling markets. Students travel to schools without fearing dangerous, impassable paths. Goods move freely, efficiently, and profitably, stimulating rural economies that had long been dormant. And just as importantly, the people are building their country themselves. In the words of one road worker interviewed along the new East-West corridor, for the first time, we're not just building roads, we're building belief. This is ours. Few systems reflect a nation's soul more than its healthcare. Before Traoré, Burkina Faso's hospitals were graveyards of promises. Mothers gave birth without anesthesia. X-ray machines stood lifeless for years. Bandages, antibiotics, even clean water scarce or non-existent. That began to change. By negotiating directly with medical equipment manufacturers, the Traoré administration reduced costs and eliminated the inflated prices driven by Western middlemen. Clinics once abandoned are now centres of activity. New machines hum, fresh paint lines, maternity wards, and the once empty medicine cabinets are stocked with life-saving supplies. Beyond equipment, Traoré focused on human capital. National training programs have expanded the number of doctors and nurses, especially in rural zones. Now, every province boasts staff who speak local languages and understand cultural contexts, bringing care closer to the people. A mother in the northern town of Doré, cradling her newborn, recently said, "Before, I came here to die. Now, I come here to give life." Traoré understands that a nation that cannot feed itself cannot claim true independence. In a historic shift, his government rejected genetically modified seeds and chemical-based farming models pushed by Western agribusiness. Instead, Burkina Faso is embracing indigenous crops, organic practices, and local innovation. With support from government extension services, farmers are now growing more with less. Irrigation projects are reclaiming desert lands. Smallholder cooperatives are pooling resources, buying seed collectively, and negotiating fair prices in regional markets. "We don't want to be the world's dumping ground anymore," one millet farmer said. "We can feed our children with food grown by our own hands." This return to food sovereignty isn't just agricultural, it's cultural. It's a spiritual reclamation of Burkina Faso's identity. Under Traoré, the youth are no longer seen as a burden, but as a strategic asset. Innovation hubs have sprung up in urban centers, offering training in renewable energy, app development, and advanced engineering. Young minds that once fled to Europe now stay home, knowing they have a role in the national project. Perhaps the most striking symbol of this new energy is Burkina Faso's homegrown electric vehicle prototype designed and assembled entirely by young Burkina engineers. The image of one of them holding the keys to a solar-powered car, beaming with pride, went viral for a reason. It shattered every stereotype of African dependency. And it's not just about tech. Vocational programs have expanded dramatically, giving thousands of young people paths into trades, farming, and entrepreneurship. Education has been expanded, especially in regions previously destabilized by violence. Schools are being reopened and teachers are being recruited. The youth are not waiting for a future. One student leader proclaimed, "We're building it now." In one of his earliest speeches, Traoré said, "This country will no longer be a playground for thieves in suits." True to his word, his administration has launched a fierce anti-corruption campaign. Public audits expose decades of embezzlement. Several former officials are facing prosecution. Billions in stolen funds have been recovered, money now redirected into hospitals, schools, and national industries. The creation of Burkina Faso's first sovereign bank, Burkina, further asserts the country's financial independence. Built to manage national revenues transparently, it ensures that the wealth of the land stays in the land. Gold, once extracted and exported with little benefit to the people, is now managed under nationalized oversight. Profits are being reinvested into rural development, education, and infrastructure. Burkina Faso is not only reclaiming its resources, it is rewriting the rules. One of the most symbolic projects under Traoré's leadership is the modernization of Ouagadougou's international airport. Once an outdated relic, it is now undergoing a massive overhaul funded entirely by national resources. New runways, advanced security systems, and locally managed operations are turning it into a regional hub for trade and tourism. And just like the roads, the people building it are Burkina. This isn't just an airport, one construction worker said. It's a door to our future, built by our hands, owned by our people. What's happening in Burkina Faso isn't going unnoticed. From Lagos to Nairobi, young Africans are watching. They're sharing videos, quoting speeches, waving Burkina Faso's flag at protests and rallies. Ibrahim Traoré's message of dignity, defiance, and determination is echoing far beyond his country's borders. Progressive leaders are taking notes. Youth movements are drawing inspiration. Even long-standing skeptics are beginning to ask, what if real change is possible without foreign prescriptions? In the Sahel region, Traoré's influence has already reshaped alliances. Alongside Mali and Niger, Burkina Faso has pulled away from ECOWAS, forming the alliance of Sahel states, a bloc determined to chart its own path without Western approval. Whether at home or on the world stage, Traoré's leadership is a thunderclap challenging decades of complacency and control. Burkina Faso's story is still being written. Challenges remain: insecurity in parts of the country, economic pressures, and the constant threat of foreign interference. But what has changed, irreversibly, is the spirit of the people. Captain Ibrahim Traoré has ignited a fire, and not just of resistance, but of renewal. From roads to farms, clinics to classrooms, the Burkina people are reclaiming their destiny with calloused hands and lifted heads. And through it all, a single truth grows louder. Africa does not need to be rescued. It needs to be respected. Burkina Faso stands today not as a nation begging for help, but as one showing what is possible when a people decide they will no longer wait to be free.